Welcome to Signal Boost. I'm Greg Mack with the APS Office of Public Affairs. So what's this new APS video series all about? I'll be bringing you news, perspectives, and pathways for action on policy and political happenings that are important for physics. This info will keep you up to date and help you boost your signal as a voice for physics over the noise of other competing interests in DC. Political transition is upon us. The 115th Congress has begun, and Donald Trump is the 45th President of the United States. With all the changeover of power, there's still a lot that's uncertain when it comes to science. As leadership of the science agencies takes shape, priorities are still unclear. However, during his confirmation hearing for the Secretary of Energy, Rick Perry said that he no longer wanted to abolish DOE and regretted saying that before. He also expressed his support for scientific research and the mission of DOE. It's important to note that the NSF director's term is out of phase with presidential terms, so France Cordova is still the agency head. No suggestions have been revealed for a science advisor to the president. Back in November, APS's CEO Kate Kirby joined 28 other scientific society CEOs to send a letter to President Trump expressing the importance of filling that position. Budgets for the federal agencies are also unclear. In fact, Congress hasn't passed a budget for fiscal year 2017. Instead, the government is operating on a short-term fix that expires at the end of April. These sorts of temporary spending bills are called continuing resolutions, or CRs. They just continue the same budget as the last year. This isn't good for the agencies. They don't know how much money they'll have long-term, so they can't plan, and they also can't fund any new initiatives. See, the basics of the budget process come down to two things: authorization and appropriations. Authorizing committees in the House and Senate discuss agency programs and operations and suggest how much money they could get. Appropriations committees in the House and Senate then decide how much money they actually get. It's like a water glass. The authorizations say if there's a glass and how big it is, and appropriations set how much water goes into it. On January 25th, APS unit leaders went to Capitol Hill to advocate for priorities of the physics community, including the federal budget. They asked for a 4% increase above inflation in federal funding for the science agencies, that President Trump includes science in his big infrastructure initiative, and that Congress appropriate funds for the Every Student Succeeds Act, the big education bill that was authorized in December 2015. The unit leaders also addressed the liquid helium crisis and asked congressional offices if they would be open to a discussion about clean energy jobs. 53 APS members participated from 23 states, and they visited upwards of 70 offices, a great jumpstart that establishes APS advocacy efforts for the year. In the next Signal Boost, I'll provide more info on the science and policy of the new Congress and administration as it takes shape. I'll also be giving you effective pathways to get involved.